Marisol Spensieri. I am the creator and the performer of Useless.
Hi, I'm Pepa Duarte, and I am the writer and performer of Eating Myself.
Okay. So, Pepa, tell me about Eating Myself.
All right, so Eating Myself is a play about a woman that explores her relationship with food. And at the beginning of the show, we believe that this is all about dieting culture and what do we need to do to constrict or control what we eat. But as the play unravels, we realize that food is way more than just something that we use for a transaction, and that it implies and brings tradition and generations of wisdom. So the play explores womanhood and food and tradition.
Nice.
And tell me about your show, Useless.
So Useless is an interactive and an immersive performance, which means that the audience are a huge part of it, and they are active members of the show as well. Useless explores the concept of human productivity and is set in a dystopian future where a woman is trapped in a routine. And things unravel in a way that the audience will decide what happens in the space, and they will be challenged to make choices in the space. So they will receive instructions and messages and questions to their phones via text messages, and they will have to make some choices.
Ooh. So how did you create Useless? How did the idea appear, or where did it come from?
So Useless has been part of a journey of 2 years of development, which started with a very kind of like theoretical and concept-based research on the idea of laziness and the idea of being unproductive, based on the theories that two philosophers wrote, Franco Berardi and Giorgio Agamben, and also the text and the artistic work of the Russian artist Kazimir Malevich. So Kazimir Malevich was an artist at the time of the Russian Revolution, and he is the famous author of Black Square on Blank Canvas. That's why the design and also a lot of the aesthetics of the show is based on that work, and his kind of like obsession with the square shape and those black and white combinations. And then the piece itself started as part of a residency at Casa Festival, which I know you've been part of as well. And then it went on to a residency at the Lyric Hammersmith Theatre, where in each journey we were able to start bringing more and more creatives into the process. So up until now we've had like kind of 12 or 14 collaborators throughout the journey at different stages feeding into this piece. And at the beginning I had no idea that it was going to include technology, or that it was going to be immersive, or that it was going to be interactive. But it was kind of like a slow and really rich development where we had a lot of feedback and we were able to do a lot of sharings. And then last year we went into a research and development process again at the Lyric Hammersmith Theatre, where we were able to invite young people into the creation process and basically put things together and test things out.
Ooh.
That was a very long answer. What was the process, the creation of Eating Myself?
It started as there was this idea that I had that something was like really interpelling me about the crossovers between how I thought about my body for a long time and how the things I related to in terms of food and eating and cooking. But it's not until I discovered that these very personal and like quite striking and like passionate beliefs were not only shared by me. It's when I started talking to other people and realizing that these very deep thoughts or feelings were actually quite universal. It's when I realized that I needed to talk about it, and that I wanted to make a piece. It started with also the impulse of I want to cook on stage. I normally thrive my projects with a first impulse that is very scary or something that I don't do normally. So I didn't know how to cook. So it was also this impulse of this is crazy. How do I not have any relationship with cooking or whatsoever? And I'm Peruvian and this doesn't make any sense. So I was like, okay, one of the first things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cook throughout the show, and I don't know what's going to happen, but that's my first idea. I also came from a project where most of the things and the set and the props relied on my body. So I was doing my other project, which is my drag performance. So I have pretty much all props and set live on my body, right? And I was wearing so much makeup that I felt the next project I do, I want all props and set to be outside of me. And I want loads of things to play with. So the idea of the kitchen started to flesh out. I also had the support of Casa Festival, so I did a small residency with the director, Sergio Mayolo, and we invited a movement director, Shane Dempsey, and we started exploring what I wanted in the piece, and I wanted the piece to be full of movement, and I wanted music in it, and I wanted it to be directed to the audience, and I wanted to be vulnerable and open, and push for these ideas that are very political that I wanted to put out there. Then we got a residency with Battersea Art Center, and it kept developing. So it was, long time ago now, but it moved forward step by step as most of the projects do.
Your show has been on before. I've seen it. It's incredible. What is it going to be different this time?
It's really interesting how the space of the theater or the venue really changes the performance in one way. Also, the show is fully fleshed as you've seen it. We take it to different places, but this year I'm super excited because we live very locally. This is South London is our area, so it feels like taking a space like Brixton House. It feels like a little bit like a second home, which is the experience of all migrants of feeling from there, from here. So it's very exciting in that way, and because the piece cooks all these sensory experiences of you get the smell, you get the hearing, the seeing. I feel that whatever we cook on stage, it always depends on the people that are there, and then eventually share that with us. So in that sense, I think it will be super cool to have South Londoners as well as everyone else, of course, but just have the experience of sharing something so personal with people from the neighborhood.
Yeah. In the heart of the Latinx community.
Tell me more about the interactive elements in your piece. How is it that we get to be immersed by the show? So it will feel a bit more like an exhibition space where you have to walk around. So there's not going to be fixed seating, actually barely any seating. And the space will be laid out in a way where actually to get a view of things you will have to move around. And then at some point you will start to receive things on your phone, and we'll ask you to keep the phone on and keep the sound on, so that you are alert to what you're going to start receiving. And then it's completely up to you whether you action that or not, but you will be pushed, and you will kind of be challenged to step up, and also to ask yourself some questions as to how would you react to this, or why would you do this or the other thing. So what are the messages behind the show? What do you want people to take from it? I think one of the things that gets discussed in the play is that these constructed beliefs and restrictions that we as women grow up with in relation to how we create this relationship with our bodies. I think for me it's important to shake that from ourselves, I believe this is still a very sexist society. But the thing I'm mostly worried about is us believing those statements and us buying into that story. So it's for me to wake up women, or to offering them the possibility of seeing a reflection in the story of this person on stage, to start realizing that the relationship with your body and what you eat or your weight has way more to do with self-love, and that your body is way more than just a size or volume, and it's transcendent, and it connects with generations of people and women that have been here before. So it is a show about female experience, but I think these experiences, as well as sexism, interpels like every gender and all people, because we create our relationships with our bodies as well, within the construction of society and what society wants us to believe. So I think it's a show for everyone that has a relationship with food, which I think is every person in the world, and also for culturally, in different cultures we relate to that space of being in a table and like waiting for your family to gather around. It's something quite universal as well and super powerful. So I think for me the invitation for the audience is a bit like opening my home for them to sit by my table, which is something I didn't have when I was growing up, and the possibility of them bringing their families as well. So for me, it is a very a beautiful experience that I would love to connect with others in that way. What other themes are discussed in your show, or the things you want to say? And what is your audience? Who do you want this to be seen by?
I think a lot of it came from, I guess, this idea of time as an empty thing that needs to be filled up with activities. So my kind of like whole process was driven by the idea of exploring itself, the concept of human productivity. What does that mean? What it is? Why are we ingrained with this idea that there is a binary division between productive time and useless time? And what is the worth of our actions then? What are the actions that are useless? What are the actions that are useful? And useful towards what? Like what are they achieving? What, like under what parameters something is useless or useful? And also because throughout time, we've been kind of like induced, especially, well, in Western society, but nowadays, you know, after capitalism spread around the world, we are induced into thinking that being a workaholic is a good thing. And so the more you're productive, the better. And the longer you work, you're going to achieve more things. But I think within that, we are kind of like losing a sense of every single moment that you are present and that you are alive is worth it. And that you don't need to do so much on top of it to fill up or to feel like you are working towards something. So yeah, the whole show, it's around this idea of what is human productivity, and also thinking about a younger audience, because I am particularly interested or concerned about how things are going to develop and how the future is going to look like for people like us, people our age, people in their 20s or even younger than that. If we feel nowadays that time is not enough, that I have to keep going and I have to keep doing things to be able to survive, to have a living, to, you know, pay the bills at the end of the month, how is it going to be in 30 years time? How is it going to be in 50 years time? How is it going to be in 100 years time? So that's why I was also so keen to set it in the future, to give kind of like a glimpse of what could happen. Pippa, how has been your experience so far with Housemate Festival, and what's happening now? Like, who are you working with? Has the team changed, developed?
With Housemates Festival, it's been exciting to feel that loads of artists are being supporting in like doing something they want to be putting on stage. So that is certainly a blessing. I feel supported and somehow like held by all these great teams that Brixton House has. So I'm really excited to see the crossover of being in the same space and like being in the studio and maybe like knowing that someone next door is also creating something. It's really nice how theater works and like how processes are and what it means to fully flesh a piece and then and been rehearsing it and for the people just been creating it. So this time around for me it's just like reviving the piece and making sure that we know what we're doing. So the director is still Sergio. Sergio's coming with me for rehearsals, and the team that was such an incredible migrant, absolutely outstanding creatives that were part of it and myself. All their work is still there. But people that are new from it is Hector Manchego, which you obviously work with. So he's doing all the filmmaking bits and some new material, and I'm getting back my graphic designer Alexandra from Peru. So he's doing like new pieces with new stuff and things. So it's really nice. It's like something has been born and it exists already. So we're basically just like holding it back again and like putting flowers around it, which I'm really excited about.
Nice.
So some question to you. How has been your experience with Housemates Festival, and is there anyone working with you now different from the process, or who are you pairing up with this time around?
Housemates has been lovely in the sense, like you said before, I love the fact that I'm working in my local theatre and it really feels like my house. So the idea of Housemates to me feels very tangible and very real. And also the community that it has built amongst the artists that are part of it, and how even though it is a festival, it is a very carefully curated space where each one of us are bringing something very unique and different. And how I love the fact that, you know, you can go see a show and then stay for a little bit longer and see another one, you know, like someone can come and see Eating Myself and stay for 10-15 minutes and go see Useless, and how the experiences are going to be so different and so rich, and how they're going to get to, like, the audiences are going to get to meet so many different artists in a like short amount of, you know, time. So I'm really excited to see all the shows and all the artists that are going to be part of this, because I think it's going to be a brilliant combination. For Useless, this time for us is really special because we've had kind of like, you know, a long creation process where we were, you know, asking ourselves a lot of questions and kind of like challenging what we wanted to do with it. And now it's like, okay, we're finally premiering. We're going to share it with an audience. And there are some of the collaborators that I've been working with who have been part of the process from the very, very early stage idea. One of them is Christopher Matthews. He is a dance artist and a choreographer. Because there is a lot of movement and the body is so key in this piece. I've been so blessed to work with him throughout all throughout the process of creating it. He started being my mentor when we started at Casa Festival, and then our relationship developed. He then became movement director until now that he's my associate director. So he's very much like hands-on directing with me. I continue to have an incredible team, again, of migrant artists behind the show. Now we have on board a lighting designer, which is really exciting. She's Lena Izawa. We have an incredible technical team behind the show. I'm working with a programmer, which to me is kind of like mind-blowing, because we're now working with technology and he's developing all the software that goes behind sending the text messages. He's Tony Porteous. He works a lot in gaming and immersive interactive experiences. He's incredible. We have Vivi Wei, who has been part of the project since last year. She's kind of like managing all the technicalities behind the show and all stage managing things. And we have a big team. I'm excited to now have a visual designer who is working from Argentina on the project, Mercedes Luna Larraona, who is designing all the projections that we're going to have. We have Karika Kendall, who joined the team this year as well. She's going to be assisting Vivi, but also she's going to be part of the show. So yeah, we have an incredible team behind it. I'm not mentioning everyone, but we have a great and big team to make this happen.
Amazing.
So because of all the aspects of the show in terms of technology and the process to make that happen, we have a post-show talk after Saturday's matinee to unpick alongside the team how did we come about, you know, doing this, and how are we including technology, the challenges of it, the practicalities of it, and we're really excited to share a bit of what has been our experience and our process, because for me it was the first time working in interactive experiences and working with technology on a live performance where we are using technology live. So we want to share that with the audiences that come and see it, but also with the artistic community to be able to share experiences and useful information that maybe someone else can take out and go away and test it themselves, or go away and do a show that also uses technology. So
amazing. We also have a post-show talk. So we're doing also a post-show talk on the 12th of July, so the opening night. Isis Stelmo is coming to talk with me and with the audience. She's a dietitian, but also a movement artist, and she has an incredible work of in psychotherapy, trying to explore and heal the relationship that people have with food. So I thought it would be incredible to have her and her experience to just open up to the audience and see if there's any questions or things that we can discuss. At the end of the show, there's something interactive that happens as well, spoiler alert. So that moment generally is the moment where like people get to talk to me, which I so much love. So I thought it would be really nice this time around to have the opportunity to have that with the entire audience. So we're doing that as well. Okay. So how do you want the audience to feel when they leave the theatre?
I want them to feel like they're ready to rave and that they are ready to challenge and to make a lot of questions. So Pepa, is this the last stop of Eating Myself? Does it have future plans coming up?
It does. It's been like a long journey, so I'm like super pleased that we are finally achieving what we wanted to do, which is do a last run in London, which is thankfully to Housemates Festival is happening. But then we're going on tour this autumn 2023. I'm super excited. It's thanks to Arts Council England and all these beautiful venues that have come along. But we're going to Newcastle, to Derby, to Cumbria, Huddersfield, Wakefield, York, Birmingham. So we're going to loads of different places, and places, some of them that I have never been to. So this is super exciting to confront a piece that is so culturally rich with England's culture from different towns and cities. So that's going to be a plan for the, to the end of the year, and I'm so excited and thankful and grateful. So yay! Catch it in other places of England. Yeah. And what are the future plans for Useless, if there is a future?
Oh,
dystopian.
Dystopian. So this is going to be our premiere. So first of all, we're really keen to see how the audience will interact with it and how it's going to develop. I'm sure that it may probably need kind of like a bit of rethinking after the premiere to look back and see if all that interactive element that we thought came out as we thought it would, or better or worse. So I think we're going to have some reflection time after premiering, and then we're hoping to to bring the show to the UK and to Europe and to Argentina very well, not very soon, but towards the end of the year or early next year.
So, what are the shows that you're looking forward to see in this Housemate Festival?
I'm looking forward to seeing all of them. I think they all sound incredible, and I am going to catch each one of them. I'm particularly excited to see Is the Wi-Fi Good in Hell, because the title is just incredible, but also because I had the chance to talk a bit more with the artists, and also before I go, I think it sounds really cool, and I love the fact that there's like music and musicians involved in it, and again, it's also because I had the chance to talk a bit more with artists about the piece and their process.
Cool.
What about you? What are you excited to see?
I think I'm very interested in a bunch of them and in yours as well, which I'll make sure that I get changed very quickly so I can see it at least once. And I think same but different sounds like it's questioning things about relationships and romantic love, which I'm always really interested in, like seeing how it can be deconstructed. So very excited about that. Rep by Toby Clark. I've seen his work throughout life. We've been crossing paths because he does loads of youth theatre, which I do as well. So really interesting that this play sounds very meta in the way of like it's a youth theatre as well, people from different boroughs. So also very interested on that. But try to catch all of them. I think that's the best thing to do. Yeah. So when do you start rehearsals and when is the show?
We start rehearsals next Monday, the 26th. I'm really excited to go back into the studio. And then the show is going to be on the 13th, 14th and 15th of July. The 15th is the Saturday, so we have the matinee and the evening performance. So that's going to be us. What about you? When do you go into rehearsals and when can we see it?
In 2 weeks' time. We will be here throughout the week, which is really exciting. And then we are on from the 12th to the 15th of July, and then on the 15th we also have a matinee, so I encourage everyone to come and see both of our shows on the same day.
Yeah, go and see Peppa,
and then
stay for a little cocktail, and then you come see Useless.
That's great.
Perfect. Catch Useless on the 13th, 14th and 15th of July.
Please come to see Eating Myself from the 12th to the 15th of July, and 15th of July we have a matinee as well, so different times to catch it.
I can't wait to see your show, Peppa. I love you.
Same, I'm super excited about what you're doing, so it sounds like, yeah, I would love to see it.
Great.
Thanks for the chat.